Kyoto, the capital of Japan for over 1100 years, naturally built up a significant number of temples and shrines, from golden covered to the gigantic, and all with their own grounds, gardens and unique features that makes exploring them such a major part of anyone's visit to the city. I'm continuing my exploration of the cultural capital of Japan by heading to some of the largest, goldenest and guardianest temples in the city. My first stop is the Kinkaku-ji, or Temple of the Golden Pavilion, named for, once you see it, pretty obvious reasons. The temple complex, officially called the Rokonkai Temple, is a Rinzai sect temple. The Rinzai sect being one of the 5 schools of Chinese Zen Buddhism, the other being Heian, Soto, Unmon and Hongan. Whilst the temple is officially called Rokonki, it's often referred to as Kinkaku-ji, after the golden pavilion that forms the main tourist draw to the site. The area around the temple was originally built as a villa for a powerful statesman in the 13th century, before passing in 1397 to the shogun and transformed into the Kinkaku-ji complex. When the shogun died, the building was converted into a Zen temple by his son, according to his wishes. The original golden pavilion is believed to have been built at the very end of the 14th century, though within 70 years, all of the rest of the buildings of the complex, except for the Golden Pavilion, were destroyed in the Onin War. The complex was rebuilt and survived through the ravages of nearly 600 years, including passing through the Second World War unscathed until the early hours of July 2nd, 1950, when the pavilion was burned down in an arson attack carried out by a novice monk. The current pavilion dates from 1955, when it was rebuilt to the same specification as the original building, though there have been some questions as to whether the original had so much gold leaf on it. During restoration work between 1986 and 1987, the gold leaf was replaced after the original coat on the reconstruction had started to peel off. The replacement gold leaf is half a micrometre thick, about a tenth the thickness of human hair, but the total amount of gold is still in excess of 20 kilograms across the whole building, worth about £1.5 million in May 2025 prices. The temple is set in a Japanese strolling garden that forms the circular route you take to pass around the temple site, and the pavilion overlooks a mirror pond that's designed to reflect the building. The pond itself contains 10 smaller islands. From the Golden Temple, it's a hop across the city to the Kinkaku-ji, also known as the Higashiyama Jisho-ji. Like the Golden Temple, this is also a Rinzai sect temple, with Kinkaku-ji meaning silver pavilion, though in this case the pavilion isn't laden with silver leaf. In 1473, the then shogun, grandson of the shogun who had created Kinkaku-ji, handed over the role to his son and went into retirement. 9 years later, he began construction of Higashiyama Villa at the foot of Mount Tsukimi. The site had been a temple previously, but was burnt down in the Onin War, making the space available for him to build a mountain villa. The former shogun died in January 1490, and just a month later the villa was, again, converted into a Zen temple to commemorate him. The gardens of the temple were designed at the same time as it was constructed and feature wooded grounds covered with a variety of mosses. Though the main feature on the flatter ground at the foot of the mountain are the dry sand gardens, including a conical sculpture said to represent Mount Fuji. The temple has fallen victim to countless fires and earthquakes over the centuries, with almost all the buildings having been replaced multiple times, the only exception being the Silver Pavilion and one other building that have both survived intact. The compact gardens, while smaller than those at some other temples, are still a pleasure to explore, irrespective of the weather, managing to get both a rainstorm and sunny skies in the 10 minutes I wandered around them. From the upper level of the gardens, you can look down across the whole of the complex and take in the different buildings, as well as the silver pavilion sitting by itself to one side. The final walk back down from the gardens to the exit takes you right past the silver pavilion for a final look at the building. It's just a 250-metre walk downhill from the temple complex to the start of the Philosophers Path, a 2-kilometre walk that runs alongside a small canal. Despite it being the end of Sakura, or cherry blossom season, the cherry trees that line both banks of the canal were still heavy with blossom, though every breeze through the trees created a snowfall of petals that were falling in the water of the canal to be carried off towards the city centre. The path links from close to the Silver Pavilion to the neighbourhood of Zenrinji, home to the next temple on my list to visit, so it also makes for a convenient and pleasant route to get between the two, especially as by now the sun was out and the rain had cleared away. The path got its name due to Nishi Kitaro, 1870 to 1945, one of Japan's most famous philosophers who was said to practice meditation while walking this route on his daily commute to Kyoto University. The canal the path runs alongside is part of the Lake Biwa Canal, which connects through tunnels from Lake Biwa, around 9 kilometres to the east, which was built between 1868 and 1912 to enhance transportation in the region and provide additional water to Kyoto. From the southern end of the Philosopher's Path is a very short walk round the corner to the Eikando Temple. The Eikando Zenrinji, to give it its full name, is the head temple for the Saizan branch of Japan's Jodo-shu Buddhist sect. The temple is significantly older than the previous temples I'd visited, with its founding dating to 853. The origins of the temple date back to when Sozo Shinso, a disciple of Kukai, built a temple hoping to establish a training centre for the Shingon sect in the then capital. Shinso purchased the mountain villa of the late poet and writer Fujiwara no Saeku and turned this into a temple. At the time, it was forbidden to build private temples without permission, so 10 years later, in 863, Emperor Siwa granted the temple an imperial license as a fixed-rate temple, a temple with a fixed amount of money, and the name Zenrinji, making it officially recognised as a temple. True to its founding, the temple started as a training centre for the Shingon sect, but by the end of the 11th century, it was transformed into a Nembutsu temple. Nembutsu is the Buddhist practice in which you visualize the image and merits of the Buddha and call out his name. The temple was heavily damaged by fires during the Onin War, but immediately after the end of the war, the emperor ordered it to be rebuilt, and work began on its restoration. In 1876, the temple became the eastern head temple of a Jodo sect, Shizen-ha. However, less than 50 years later, the sect split into three due to differences in beliefs, with one of those three becoming the Jodo sect, Shizen Zenrinji, with the temple becoming the head temple for this branch of the sect. There are two different parts of the temple complex that you can explore. Firstly, the main complex itself, where, after leaving your shoes at the entrance, you can wander around large parts of the almost completely wooden structure, including being invited to enter some of the temple rooms or to observe ceremonies in progress from the walkways outside. The internal walkways continue up through the complex to the base of the hill that the temple's pagoda sits upon, and from here you can look across the whole temple site. Shoes back on, you can wander around the grounds of the temple, including climbing all the way to the base of the Tahoto Pagoda, from where there are views out west across the centre of the city to the mountains on the opposite side. You can also wander around the gardens, particularly around the Hojo Pond, where you can take in the colours of the Japanese maple trees. As well as get views back up the hill to the Tahoto Pagoda. Back across town to an area absolutely packed with different temples, so many in fact that you can end up visiting one you weren't even expecting, as was the case with my visit to the Koshoji Temple, as I'd been aiming for the neighbouring and larger Nishi Hongan-ji Temple. The Koshoji Temple shares the moat with its neighbour. In fact, the two temples are related and are both Jodo Shinzu sect temples, albeit slightly different versions, one being Shinju Koshowa and one being Shinju Hongan-ji. The temple was originally built as a sub-temple of its neighbour, but with a split in the sect, it eventually became the head temple for this branch of the sect. As with so many other buildings in Kyoto, the original structures have been destroyed by fire on multiple occasions, so the current double hall structures only date from around 1912, with further damage being done to the Goei-do, or Founders Hall, in the effects of the earthquake centred in Osaka in 2018. Repair works were only completed in 2022. The temple follows a structure that I was about to become very familiar with, of an Amida-do linked via a corridor bridge to a Goei-do. The complex entrance is through an elaborate gatehouse. The neighbouring Nishi Hongan-ji has a very similar structure, but it appeared on a slightly bigger scale, if only from the size of the grounds, if not for buildings. The temple was originally founded in 1272 elsewhere in the city and only settled in its current location in 1591, though many of the buildings have been rebuilt in the subsequent years, with the Amida Hall being rebuilt in 1760 and the Gaedo in 1636. A few blocks to the east of the Nishi Hongan-ji, and constructed just 11 years after, albeit subsequently rebuilt multiple times following various fires, is the Higashi Hongan-ji, the head temple of the Otani faction of Jodo-Shin Buddhism. The complex occupies multiple city blocks, and its location, just a short distance from Kyoto Station, makes it one of the most popular for temples in the city to visit. It's also home, with its Gaedo, to the largest wooden building in the city. Entrance into the complex is through the imposing 28-metre high Maido Gate, rebuilt in 1911 and counted as one of the 3 Great Gates of Kyoto. This leads you into the central courtyard, and immediate in front of you is the Gaedo, or Founder's Hall. The Gaedo Hall is 76 metres wide, 58 metres deep and 38 metres high. Construction of the hall began in 1880 and was completed in 1895. The hall is divided into an inner sanctuary, outer sanctuary and worship seats. Out on the corridor of the Gaedo, you can get a good view across the whole of the site, including the neighbouring Amida Hall, as well as the Shoro Bell Tower rebuilt in 1894, Amida-do Gate rebuilt in 1911, and the main Maido Gate. The Amida-do has a similar layout to the Gaedo, with an inner sanctuary, which at the time of visiting had shutters up as the sanctuary was being prepared for a service later in the day, the outer sanctuary and the worship area. At 52 metres by 47 metres by 29 metres, it's quite a bit smaller than the Gaedo and was constructed at the same time. Unlike many of the other temples, the gardens of the Higashi Hongan-ji are not located in the main temple site, instead being situated a couple of blocks further east in the Shoseien Garden. The gardens were built in the middle of the 17th century on land donated by the then shogun. The gardens are roughly 200 by 200 metres square, covering the equivalent of around 6 blocks. The gardens were designed as a retreat for the high priest of the Higashi Hongan-ji temple and as a location for him to receive foreign guests. Around the edge of the garden are a number of tea houses and other structures, but the main feature is the central pond, the Ingetsu-chi, which visitors follow a circular path around, taking in the changing vistas as you cross bridges and follow the narrow paths through plants and monuments. The final temple of my visit is perhaps one of the newest in the city, the Haian Jingu shrine. The shrine was created in 1895 to commemorate the 1100th anniversary of the relocation of the capital of Japan to Kyoto in 794, and from the south the approach is made with the impressive Otori, or Great Torii, which at 24 metres high and 18 metres wide was only added in 1928, as the project to build a large enough torii gate worthy of the Heian shrine out of stone or wood was considered too difficult when the shrine first opened. By 1928, the gate could finally be confidently built out of steel reinforced concrete. The shrine's main building is a partial replica of the original imperial palace of the Heian period, albeit on a smaller scale. Sadly, at the time of visiting, the main shrine building was undergoing renovation, so was covered in scaffolding and sheeting, slightly reducing the overall impressiveness of the site. Wrapped around the shrine itself are the gardens, which are an impressive set of strolling gardens set around multiple ponds. Perhaps the most important part of the gardens, given the time I was visiting, are its weeping cherry trees, which generally blossom a few days later than the other cherry trees in the city, so at the time of visiting they were at peak blossom. The garden is made up of 4 areas: the South Shrine Gardens, which is the area where you first enter into the grounds and has the largest number of weeping cherry trees. The West Shrine Garden includes the Byakuo Pond, which is surrounded by over 200 varieties of irises, as well as topiary pine trees. The Naka-jin Garden houses the Soroyo Pond on the western side, over which Japanese maple trees add a blast of colour. And on the eastern side of the pond you can cross it on the stones of the Gaeru Bridge. But the most picturesque part of the gardens are the East Shrine Garden, set around the Saiho Pond and featuring the Shobuikan, a guest house, and the Taihaikan covered bridge, both relocated from the Kyoto Imperial Palace. With some of the best views of the garden to be had from the centre of the covered bridge. Next time, like the capital in 1869, I'm moving from Kyoto to Tokyo as I explore the world's largest metropolis from high above, down in the water, and amongst the shrines.